Buhari appoints the advisor of Miyetti Allah to lead the Federal Commission. This according to Reno Omokri. Reno Omokri has slammed President Buhari for appointing the lay advisor of Miyetti Allah to lead the Federal Character Commission. You know what it means? Federal Character Commission, for a Miyetti Allah person to lead it. Jonathan left General Buhari $2.07 billion excess crude account. Today, only $71 million remains. He left $3 billion in SWF, but Buhari has drained it. Buhari increased foreign debt from $7 billion to $27 billion. Now, oil has crashed. What will Nigeria do? General Buhari has plunged us in a debt that will be almost impossible to pay. We are not being pessimistic there, but he's trying to express himself how the debt has gone. He met foreign debt of $7 billion. Today it is $27 billion. He is a locust, a perpetual beggar. Buhari, you remember Buhari has been flying to and fro China, always, the other time they went to TICAD, Japanese summit, they went to Chinese summit. They are, we have a country, our people are not producing. They only go out to beg. They look for grants to get. We don't have major export apart from oil. We are totally dependent on oil. Now oil price has crashed. That is what Reno Omokri is trying to say. He calls Buhari a beggar because of that attitude. He said, an economic almajiri. He consumes what other man produces without adding value. Just look at the way the president has been borrowing. And most of the project that this borrowing will be used for is not worth it. It's not project that will bring that money. And these guys doesn't care. They are just about begging. A country that is sixth oil richest country in the world. Can you imagine bringing tribalism into an agency established specifically to prevent tribalism? That is the Federal Capital Commission. Buhari appointed somebody that is an advisor to a terrorist group to head this organization. Could you imagine? This guy called Muhammad Tuku is the secretary. With all Nigeria has suffered in the hands of headsmen, the Federal Capital Commission is a place that tribalism must not reflect. Yet, this is what Buhari deems fit to do. Naira will crash. It is a matter of when. It is not if. It is now a matter of when. Oil is 90% of Nigeria's export. It has crashed. This is very sad. Omokri tweeted all of this. This is so sad. Mismanagement. Now let's get to the next news. First of all, nobody asks you to give federal government 1 billion naira donation. Nigerians react as Access Bank plans to sack 75% of their staff aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. After the surprising announcement by the group managing director of Access Bank PLC, the financial institution is going to be engaging in what we call a mass retrenchment, and Nigerians are reacting to this. Recall that on Thursday it was revealed that as a result of the COVID-19 distress, Nigerian Commercial Bank, Access Bank, plans to lay off 75% of their staffs. Wow! Could this be that 1 billion naira would have been used to settle these guys, keep paying their salary? And you know what? This money a lot of people donated was lost in the fire incident at the finance house. So when the minister there was asked to give account of how it was spent, and said the files were burned. Fire know how to locate all this kind of files. And this guy now who donated part of the bank's money to this to fight COVID-19 is laying off staff. Wow, 75%. You could imagine that. But we spoke via video conferencing in a town hall meeting with the bank staff, as he said that those to be affected by the mass retrenchment are 75% of the bank staff. Most of them are outsourced and are offering non-essential services. Okay. There is a feeling that the bank has used money that will be meant for salaries of workers for some time to sow into the COVID-19, pay tight into the COVID-19 relief fund. But it is sad what happened to the money. Let's continue. And in an emotion-laden voice, we said, we probably don't need as many security men as required, even to the fact that we are not going to have all our branches open between now and December. We don't need all the tea girls. We don't need all the cleaners. You see, as if I knew. We don't need all the teller, etc. Perhaps they have a new way to operate. The security men will be reduced. A lot of them will lose their job. You could imagine that. A lot of people serving tea. Wow, but I've not drunk any tea. I've been frequenting Access Bank and no one has ever given me tea. The only thing Access has given me is just sweets. Wow. And he added that so that the number of staff, which represent 75% of our staff strength, I think is the one we basically need to speak with their employers with a view to getting them to rationalize to the level that we think will be necessary to basically sustain a mean but actually a customer service oriented institution. I hope some of these guys are not contract staff. I hope the banks are not still involved in that contract staff activity that made some MD lose their banks. We will continue that the second reason they are laying off staff is because of the professional cost. Now that is one is very tricky, and it's tricky because I do understand and appreciate that it's going to bring its own pain to staff. We basically have to make the adjustment the same way it sounded when we spoke 10 days ago with rest to basically cutting down costs. See, the only thing I don't want to hear, because I have some money there, I don't want to hear story. The only thing I don't want to hear folding. Please, central bank, if you are giving them loan, give them. I don't want to hear I don't want to hear story. You just grabbed Diamond Bank recently. I don't want to hear story. I hope Diamond Bank looting is not affecting you. He went on, I will be the first to take the heat, and I'm gonna take the largest pay cut, which would be as much as 40%. The rest we would have to cascade right through the institution. Everybody may have to make some adjustment of sorts. Mr. Herbert we said the proposed measures are aimed at keeping the bank afloat in the face of the economic realities of COVID-19. These are COVID-19 casualties. What COVID-19 has cost, you could imagine that. I don't used to fancy bank jobs for some time because in the past, if you say you're working in a bank, we respect you, we salute you. But nowadays, we know what it is. We know what the cashiers receive. Even if you are that desk at the back of the cashier, we know what you receive. Imagine now they're about to cut it. Man, guy, you got to be self-employed. Listen carefully. You got to be self-employed. The person who leaked President Buhari's speech caught. That is according to Femi Adesina. The presidential special advisor on media and advertisement, Femi Adesina, said the person who leaked Buhari's speech before time, I think it was 4 hours before the time that he has been arrested. He says the person had draft of the speech hours before its last national broadcast. On Monday, you remember Buhari addressed the country and he extended Abuja, Lagos and Ogun lockdown by just a week. He said after a week, they will begin to relax it. They will do it gradually. And the Buhari speech was after he accepted some of the governor's recommendations on the pandemic. Among the suggestions he mentioned for implementation are the use of face masks in public, interstate movement restriction, and the enforcement of dusk to dawn curfew. I think at the end of the lockdown, there will be curfew. Then people have to wear face masks when they go out. Now we're still on the person who leaked the speech before it was released. He said it was a version that was filled with error and was circulated on social media. It came out 4 hours before President Buhari actually read his own speech, and it was different from the draft in several respects, but they are related but different in several respects. In a piece titled "Enemies of the State," Adesina said the individual who leaked the memo, who was tracked and is now paying for his evil deed. President Muhammad Buhari was to broadcast to the nation by 8 p.m. to provide an update on the fight against COVID-19 and what would become of the 4-week lockdown, particularly in the Federal Capital Territory, Lagos and Ogun State. Kano was also a highly fascinating point, with mysterious deaths ravaging the town. Is it or not COVID-19? Written by Adesina. So while the nation was waiting to hear the speech, IPOB say it is a recorded speech. It's always recorded in somewhere in Cuba and sent to us. Okay, while we are waiting to hear the pre-recorded speech, around 4 p.m. of that day, a supposed copy of the broadcast began circulating on social media. Well, I am not so surprised. This is not the first time. In fact, the first broadcast, I saw it a minute or few minutes after the broadcast, and I wonder how the copies are already available in print. So I'm not surprised. Nigeria is an amazing country. So he said he looked at the circulating paper, and within a minute I realized it was a copy of the Rogue. What gave it away instantly was the article. It was totally different from the one I had been part of producing and recorded by the president for broadcast. Femi Adesina went further to say that if this guy who did this particular thing had access to the original papers and some key information that is not to be exposed, he would have done that and exposed the materials to the enemies. So the guy is cooling off in the police cell. According to him, that is what the violent secret hand did. But in these technical days, he forgot that almost everything leaves a trace. Software data had narrowed the suspect down by the end of the evening, and he was already apologizing for his evil deeds. That was Femi Adesina. But you know what baffles me? How can the speech of a president leak in that manner? Did they went to a roadside photocopier or people who type by the roadside to work on the material that somebody got the information? How did it leak? Who are the people working for these guys? How will a broadcast leak before the time? And when Femi Adesina is saying it doesn't have access to the right material, but how come the materials were related? This is very silly. This is why you have given IPOB another chance to call you a zoo republic. Yes. And we'd like to round up with this fine one. There is massive jubilation. You know why people can jubilate in this kind of time? It is not just about food. It is because maybe there has been a cure. The fear of corona is the beginning of getting one. Jubilation as Nigeria priests finally developed COVID-19 drug. The COVID-19 scare, for the drug to come out, that will trigger the highest jubilation. A supposed cure for the deadly coronavirus has been developed by a group of Nigerian Catholic priests. Man, these guys are not only giving Holy Communion, no. They are into research. They are not just quoting in the church. These guys are into research. The drug is called Pax CVD Plus. and it is said to be solely for the treatment of coronavirus. The constituents of the drug are antiviral and immunomodulatory agents which help to stimulate antibodies. A group of Catholic priests developed a supposed cure for that deadly COVID-19 pandemic. Just like we said, a disclosure was made in a statement released and signed by Father Amsalem Adodo OSB on Wednesday, April 29, on the official page of the Pax Harbor Clinic and Research Laboratories Outcome News Reports. Wow. Father Amsalem said that plant-based drugs are seemingly the best approach for coronavirus because these drugs are easily produced, stored, and distributed and can be handled by medical and non-medical personnel as they pose low contamination risk. Perhaps the Oni of Ife is also making sense. He said he has a local way of dealing with it, and he's boldly making that statement. Though in Nigeria, I don't know how we value our personnel, our people. I don't know how we value them. Abaraka, and you could remember the case of Abaraka and several others. Look at Morisiwu. But we are fast. We are so quick when it comes to bringing in vaccines, drugs from outside, because somebody has to be paid. The person will just, people in the house nowadays, because now it's democratic reign, somebody has to be paid. Guy, please accept this money, make this bill to be passed in the house, and let it be accepted and put into the law and made the law. Just receive your money. Forget whatever it does to Nigeria. That is why the House would just deliberate. They didn't even deliberate on a 55-page material. They didn't even deliberate. They are about rounding up, and we will be vaccinated by force. You could imagine that. Well, this is where we draw the curtain for today. Please, have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Please subscribe. Also, click on the bell icon to get our update. Thanks for watching Igbo Area TV. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, click the bell icon. Like our Facebook page. Join our Facebook group. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Bye for now.